My name is Trina McIsaac, and I've painted since I was little because it's important for me to express myself, and painting seemed to be the best way. Also a little bit of writing, but I start kind of like finger painting, moving color around. And this is a piece called A Healing Earth. And it's started with hands. You can see the marks where I work with my hands. And then I start putting layers down. I never know what I'm going to paint. It's always a surprise. It's like the subconscious or dream work. And that's very important to me because dreams, I believe, are very important to help guide you. And it's this channeling energy that makes you be more in balance. And doing artwork makes me feel more in balance and more peaceful, and I never know what's going to come out. And then we can look at another piece. This one is called No More Holy War, and I was frustrated with the violence that I was seeing, and it just came out this way. And it still has the images. I do a lot of bombs and animals, and I'm concerned about the vulnerable, the earth, the animals, the people that can't speak. So I'm influenced by what I read and what I see and hear, but then I let it go and listen to music. That's very important. And then I start painting, and whatever comes out is what I bring out. And then we have another piece.
Okay.
This one's Where Have All the Birds Gone? And actually, I was very upset with the Patriot Act and the loss of freedom, and it came out as the birds, and the birds are down here. And this is sort of like a birdhouse. And I don't have control of the colors. Whatever comes out is what I get. But then I start seeing shapes and things and start bringing those out. It's kind of like looking at clouds or tea leaves and things where you see shapes, and it starts telling you things. And
And you were talking the other day on the radio about how you sometimes have some pieces you start and then you don't touch them for a long time.
Yes,
Could you
there's
expand on that?
Some come very easily. There's very automatic, like automatic drawing, automatic writing, and then there's some that are like puzzles that you have to really work at and put in the corner. And actually, you spend a lot of time looking at them, and then all of a sudden you have this impulse to pick up a brush or a pencil or whatever is there and make marks, and then intuitively. And then there's some times where you overwork pieces. So you just leave them in the corner and then start anew on them.
You meaning the universal you, right?
So
When was this piece made?
this one was done around 2004, I believe.
And you're working on a very big scale. Why is that rather than smaller?
I like being inside the painting because I work flat, and then I put it up and look at it, and then put it down, back and forth. And when you're painting, you're actually feeling, and you're in the color because the color vibrates. And I think some people are sensitive to color, some to music, some to, we connect in different ways and we learn in different ways. But I'm very interested in visual, in books, in writing, and in color. That seems to be the areas that I like. But I use a lot of music when I'm painting.
What do you listen to?
I like folk music, political music. I like people that write their own songs, and I like humor, and just I go through different phases.
So how do you know when to stop in a painting?
Sometimes I don't, and that's what I'm saying. Then they go to the side, and then I rework them, sometimes years later, because some pieces, they grow. They start as a painting, but then they go into an assemblage piece and become another. They keep growing.
They just have a life of their own.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's nice not to have to be calculating what you're doing, that you're in the moment. And do you notice that when you're doing this, you lose all sense of time?
Oh, yes.
It's liberating, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, that's a very strong thing. When you're doing something you really enjoy, it doesn't matter what you're doing. That sense of time just
No
changes.
Structure.
It changes.
We live by so much structure. This time we have to be at this place. We have to get up at this time. And you have to eat and do everything else. So that when you're painting, it's not in that structure. So you get to obliterate all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very good. Yes, I know. That's the best part of painting, I think.
So you also
These are kind of like the bones. This is what's left from the trail of the experience. You know, it's kind of like the.
How long have you
leftovers.
been painting, actually? Because you were doing.
Since I was 3.
Oh, since you were 3.
I was very encouraged as a child to do my artwork, and I was lucky. I had progressive parents, and we had people from different cultures come into our house. My father was a scientist, and my mom, her background, she does artwork as well, and I was just very encouraged.
So you were surrounded by that, and this being in science is creative. But a lot of people don't realize that there's an artistic bent to that.
Well, I wanted to be a scientist, and my dad wanted to be an artist, so we kind of swapped a little bit.
And what kind of scientist was he?
He was a research scientist in at TRIMS. He was a director, Research Institute of Mental Sciences.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. We had a lot of interesting, they did work on marijuana, alcohol, the effects, and research on interesting things that came up. And we were very influenced by, like I said, our childhood was interesting. And I didn't know until I left and went out in the world that things were a lot different.
And with his affiliation with them, did they incorporate the art into their institution?
They were all artists in their own way, because research is very creative. You don't know what you're going to get. And my father studied with Alexander Fleming, and he discovered penicillin kind of as an accident, but he took it out of the trash and worked with it, and then they got penicillin. So it's kind of like artwork very much. You just don't know what you're going to get when you finish.
Well, what I meant by that question was with the patients. Or was he just in research and not working with?
He had psychiatric patients, and he would go in, and they thought that he was one of the patients there because he spent time there. And he'd show me Rorschach pictures, and we would sit there, and they would have a business meeting, and he'd ask me what I thought of the people, and I'd say, well, I didn't like so-and-so's shoes. And he'd listen, and our opinions were just as important as grown-ups, or we did a lot of things. Like I said, we were lucky. We were exposed to a lot of different people from different cultures that couldn't always speak the language, but they did the research work.